I didn't have the stars to keep me company this time. I wanted nothing and nobody around me. I kept myself locked in a random room in my tower. I hadn't seen where I'd gone, but I was somewhere on floor 12, and I was somewhere secluded. I was somewhere very dark. My mind was somewhere very dark. My heart, too. They got the better of me too often. I cried as quietly as my body would allow me. I wouldn't have held back if I knew nobody would hear me, and if I wasn't in charge of everything Irken. Countless responsibilities that were too important for me to spend ages lying in a crumpled mess over a table. Yet there I was taking a break I could not afford. I let my episode run its course, breathing harder in frustration when a pesky thought nagged me. This was unacceptable. With how often I wallowed in self-pity, how did I ever get anything done? I was no better than lousy red and purple at this point. I was in no shape to rule an empire. There was no way I could go on like this. My pack was broken, my mind was broken, my heart was broken. As the Empress, I should have passed down the role to someone else. But I didn't trust anyone else enough. But I didn't trust myself either. So what was I to do? Sit and cry about it. And about Eros. That's all I ever did now. Sometimes I cried so hard and so long, I thought I would die from it. I thought my pack would explode or something. I thought my heart would quite literally break, rip itself clean in half. Eros deserved better. I wanted my little Syr back. God, how I wanted my little Syr unit back. The downgrade had worsened the sentimental feelings of grief and longing. I wanted nothing more than to hold Eros close to me, praise him for his stunning bravery, reprimand him for accepting his doom, tell him how much he meant to me, how much I loved him. But that couldn't be done. He wasn't here. He wasn't anywhere. As far as I knew, he was destroyed. I let that happen to him. I cursed myself every day for it, if not every hour. Once again, I felt like I was dying. Maybe dying would be for the best anyway. I was no use to anyone like this. I had done my part already, and all I seemed to be here for now was to pay the price. I was here to suffer. The idea of death was beginning to sound peaceful. As peaceful as this sound at the edge of my hearing, it slowly dragged my mind back to reality. The tightness in my chest subsided as I ceased my crying with a steady sigh. The room was slightly bluer than when I first arrived. There was a light just barely illuminating the walls around me. Darting my head in several directions, I searched for the source. It was then I found that the door was open, and there stood the figure of a Syr unit, all shadowed save for its eyes, perfectly round and glowing. Terribly startled, I gasped, and jumped so far back against the table. Eros, that name slipped through my teeth before I could stop it. I already knew this wasn't Eros. I had addressed him completely out of reflex. I shook my head and scrubbed at my face, mortified. GIR, what are you doing here? It was obviously Zim's Syr unit. The cyan color was always a dead giveaway. The other Syrs rarely changed to this color, even after being reprogrammed as moral beings. GIR had X-ray vision and a recently updated guidance chip. That was most likely how he located me. My panting and sobbing probably made that easier. I quickly calmed myself. If anyone was going to catch me in this vulnerable state, I preferred it to be GIR. As the little one joined me in the darkness, I made out the rest of him. He wasn't sporting a smile, but a blank expression. one that looked like Euros's. Even the demeanor was similar, quiet and composed. I tried not to let it unnerve me. GIR had a strange item in his hand. It rang several notes at once, in enticing harmony, without needing a rhythm. Its parts looked similar to a puppet's. The strings were hung by a crossbar, except instead of a puppet, attached to the end of the strings were small musical metal tubes. GIR gently held the thing up to me. "What is this?" I croaked.
"Jinglies,"
GIR replied. I gingerly took the item by the crossbar, and the movement caused the tubes to swing and collide with one another, chiming a few decibels louder. After I listened for a moment, I softly asked while tapping one of the tubes, "Where did they come from?"
"GIR made it himself."
A new voice said from the entrance, startling me again.
"Inspired by an earth instrument."
GIR's master approached me next. I panicked, dropping the said instrument over my small pool of tears on the table and wiping my face again. "Zim, please, no, you can't come here. Don't look at—
Why?
Zim hurriedly gripped both of my wrists to pull them away from my face and keep them still. I didn't defy it. I surrendered miserably, but kept my eyes shut. "Not you," I choked, shaking my head. "Not you, not you. I can't." Zim let go of me. I caught the sound of slow footsteps and I looked up. Zim had backed away, and his expression was pained and confused, as if I said something wrong. I realized I had. I looked at him apologetically and clarified, "You weren't supposed to find me this way." The hurt expression softened when Zim understood that I wasn't resentful, nor disgusted by his presence. I struggled to speak when my throat began to swell, threatening to continue the episode. "I can't be like this around anyone. Every time I am, it makes them uncomfortable. And understandably, they don't know what to do about it. And it's embarrassing. I'm supposed to remain strong."
"You're bereaved, my empress,"
Zim gently reasoned.
"You must take a break from being strong. You let me."
"But that's why this is wrong. I have to keep it together for you, for everyone. You come to me for support. You come to me, the one you can rely on to comfort you, calmly, wisely. When seeing this make you uncomfortable, seeing that you've been leaning on something that isn't as safe and sturdy as you thought."
"No, Syss."
Zim looked hurt again, but for me, his brow furrowed as he answered me sadly and sincerely. GIR shut the door without being ordered to, which I was thankful for. With that piercingly serious look, Zim returned a set of words that I had said to him before.
"I am no fool, you know."
I knew he had sensed my pain all this time, but I had been trying to convince myself that he would soon forget about it and leave it alone once and for all. I underestimated Zim.
"The stars may be twinkly and pretty, my empress, but they can't see you,"
he said before he hugged me around my midsection.
"They can't hold you and tell you things you need to hear."
His touch and the realization that I did need someone with me during these times triggered the swelling in my throat. I gritted my teeth. "The stars always help me," I had said before, but Zim was speaking the truth.
"But they don't think of you any differently,"
he offered thoughtfully.
"And neither do I. I'll be a star for you. Say Zim is a star that came down from the sky to love you back."
This was beautiful to me, probably more than Zim intended. With a mix between a chortle and a sob, I wrapped an arm around his head. No, you're enough. You're enough, Zim." As I said this, the soft musical ringing sounded again, right beside me. Little GIR was lying on his back on the table, holding up the jinglies as his bright eyes stared at me from upside down.
These jinglies are for you,
he said in a neutral tone. My smile hurt, but the appreciation I was trying to show was real. Oh, thank you, GIR. I like them. Zim let go of me.
We didn't get to find out what they were really called, but we believe their purpose is to relieve stress. It works for me and very well for GIR.
And that's what this gift was for, to soothe my stress.
Thank you for bringing him back to me,
Zim said after a moment.
I can't remember if I ever said that. I can never remember who I still owe thanks to.
I needed to bring him back, Zim, I said. I had the answer, and
you related.
Zim solemnly finished for me. I winced. Well, it's not just that. You and he was... It was wrong.
Are you ready to talk about it yet?
Zim pried.
Your Sir Unit.
I groaned under my breath and brushed my right hand over my right antenna, also tugging at it uncomfortably. I shook my head and turned toward a corner. No. I can't keep thinking about it, let alone talk about it. I think it's eating away at my psyche.
But you can't just stop thinking about it, Zim objected. It's not possible, is it? Think of it differently. He didn't die in vain. It could have been worse. This ignited something in my chest that felt ugly. I flared up and hissed what first came to mind.
It doesn't matter if it could have been worse. It was horrible as it was. In the corner of my eye, I saw both Zim and GIR flinch. Zim tried to apologize.
I'm sorry, my Empress.
Would it kill you people to call me Syss once in a while? I immediately snapped, without giving myself a single second to think. My pulse quickened, and I furiously flung my hands around in gesture as I spewed out my words. I even tossed something that was hopefully not important. I was hysterical, and I could not stop even while I wanted to.
Syss is one syllable. My Empress and Empresses are 3 syllables. You should want to say Syss and nothing else. I already know that everything is on my shoulders. That I'm responsible for so many changes and things I can't even count. How to raise the new Smeets, how to run future trials, how to manage the economy, how to find the rogues and confront them without provoking them, how to rightfully start over and make peace with 1,000,000 races after ruthlessly ruining them in their own planet.
Like it always did when I overreacted, my pack sent a jolt of electricity to my head and my spine, making me convulse and fall to my hands and knees this time. I was glad it did. I deserved it. I had lashed out because Zim called me Empress like he always did. Like everyone always did. And that only angered me now? Why would it when I asked for that title name myself? That talk about Eros was what caused the start of that outburst. That was why I acted so sensitively. Completely ashamed, I stayed on the floor with my head low. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Zim. Please forgive my temper. I didn't mean any of that.
But it came from somewhere, didn't it?
I heard Zim say, without fear in his voice, which was a good sign to me. With how sensitive Zim had been himself, I thought I had done some damage. I worried that maybe, in one fell swoop, I disturbed the memories of our long hugs, and my promises that I would support him no matter what. He patently took all of that to heart. To my relief, he didn't seem to do the same for my tantrum. I sensed him drawing near. I felt an Urkin's hand place itself on my left shoulder, and a Sir Unit's on my right.
I thought you were proud of where you are,
Zim said in sympathy. I really am, but it's overwhelming. My words shook with my body, and still I remained on the floor where I currently belonged.
It doesn't have to be. You're not doing all of this alone. Don't you know that?
But I'm leading what's being done, and I'm expected to be fair and careful about it. Like I said I would be. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Zim's other hand made a fist as firm as his voice.
Syss, the downgrade was a success. You are an amazing success. You are a hero.
I remembered how much I wanted to be called just that. How much I wanted to be called a hero. How much I yearned for appreciation. Before everything changed, I wouldn't have believed it would be directly given to me by Zim. The most childish and brash, the most clumsy, the most insane of us all. Not the most selfish, but still selfish enough. He too had demanded appreciation and certain privileges, usually ones that were too much to ask for. Now, this childish, brash, clumsy, and insane Erkin was consoling me, without being curt like one would expect. Out of all of our results from the downgrade, Zim's were the most astounding, and Erkin's had been so sure he was a lost cause, having a pack so defective that it once corrupted 3 control brains. As I thought about this, Zim cautioned,
But you are another Erkin with limits in health. You are an empress, not a goddess. Don't forbid yourself from coming up for air, especially with the way you are. You'll overload yourself and shut down. Don't trap yourself. You're the empress for Erk's sake. Yeah, that means you have huge responsibilities, but it also means what you say goes. Take a vacation or something. Reward yourself for your achievements. You can do whatever you want, don't forget that. You're giving us freedom, where's yours?
I can hardly enjoy myself without Eros by my side. I whispered. He completed me. And Zim rubbed my shoulder.
I understand, Syss. A lot of times I miss Mini-Moose too much to enjoy myself.
His hesitancy to say my empress elevated my guilt, and so did the mention of Mini-Moose. I blinked my eyes wide and looked up at my little soldier. Oh, Zim, I forgot. You still lost someone. Zim gave a dismal nod.
Yes, but I tried to block the should've, would've, could've thoughts. I respect Mini-Moose's choice to fly out in space to confront the tallest. He died a soldier. A powerful, squeaky, tiny, moosey soldier. And he went quickly, apparently. It could have been worse.
That statement was not as disrespectful as I first took it. When Zim told me Eros's end could have been worse, and that he didn't die in vain, he was trying to guide me to a perspective I could cope with more easily, and not a cold and delusional one. Eros too made a choice, and he knew the consequences. He saved me and everyone on the massive so we could move on. I struggled to picture his reaction to how much pain I was in. I knew Eros wouldn't want this, and he would blame himself for it, and my brief craving to expire. I had even wanted to die. It was frightening that it even came to that, even if it lasted for just a second. I had gotten a taste of what Zim often felt. I embraced him tightly, probably too tightly, as I heard him grunt. I'm sorry, Zim. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for this, Zim. And you, little GIR. The robot I spared a glance to smiled with his eyes arched happily. I released Zim when I noticed I was practically crushing him. After he stumbled a bit and recovered, he said,
You made time for me. That means you can make time for you. And the universe will make time for you, whether it likes it or not.
But there might be emergencies. Naturally, I tried to protest, but a distorted, gentle little shush from the table prevented me from speaking out any further, and it was followed by the ringing notes of that stress-relieving instrument. It was clear to me that GIR wanted me to take pleasure in listening to the thing the way he and Zim did, with no worries, only tranquility. I finally climbed up from the floor. I slumped over the table again with my head in my arms, and I let myself relax. I closed my eyes for a moment. I opened them back up when I heard a movement nearby. I was met with Zim, mimicking my position as his big eyes stared at me fondly from just inches away. GIR huddled up beside his head and lightly swung the jinglies every so often to keep them ringing. Erkins did not sleep, but at that moment, I almost felt like I could.